Hey everyone, welcome to episode 146. It's Victory Monday. Tom, Poppy, and Marianna are joining me. Marianna, I feel like we have to start with you because I think off camera left is there's someone with a bit of a sore head, isn't there?
Yeah. Let's just say that this side of the house is a bit happier this weekend than the other side. Although to be fair, I will say that this was one of the least I guess tense matchups that we've had because I think by about the end of the second drive when we were about 10 points up, there was a resigned sigh, and I think that was the end of Paul's um, Paul's fandom for the day. He just kind of had resigned himself to the Giants losing and probably losing quite badly.
Oh, well, their loss is our game. We're very grateful. It all goes into the playoff piggy bank, thankfully. We're hoping we're going to be able to cash out. Poppy, let's try and make Paul feel a little bit better. Was it the Bucks winning it or was it the Giants losing it, do you think?
I'd like to say that it was just us winning it, but I think there were some moments that were gifted to us, especially with the missed fumble and moments like that. But there were bits where the Giants did show us that they weren't just going to roll over and let us win. But yeah, I do think it was a combination. Sorry
I
to
think,
say.
yeah, no, I think that's a fair point, and I think you're right actually, because I remember, donkeys years ago when it was Raheem Morris as the head Bucks head coach, and there was sort of some games down the stretch where it wasn't going well that year, and you could see the players maybe weren't as committed, but I think, as you said, the Giants players were still playing hard. There was no easy stuff going on. Tom, I mean, we could start anywhere you like, but maybe let's start with the offense then. Um, four running touchdowns by four running players. Anyone in the trivia in the comments below, if you can tell us the last time that happened in a Bucks game. I was looking and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think we for a number of years we've been lamenting our run game and saying how poor it is. It's nice to have like a few different options now. Rashad is a couple of people last year were expecting him to. Oh, after last year, expecting him to go off again this year. But I think last year was a bit of a. I think that's probably the best we're going to see of Rashad White. I think
Mm-hmm.
Bucky is now is the future. I think he's looking every game
Barky,
more and more. Yeah,
barky.
every game more and more like he's going to be a superstar. Really, the cuts are just ridiculous.
He
He's
does
not
look something special.
he's not got blistering pace where he pulls away from people. He does get caught if he if he gets in behind, but he just cuts and seems to leave people behind, makes people fall over. He was amazing yesterday, and yeah, him and Baker. Um,
Yeah. I mean, so
yeah,
yeah, Bucky Irvin, 12 carries, 87 yards with a long of 56. If you take that 56 out, that's still 11 carries for 31 yards, which is pretty much the same average per carry that Rashad White had. So I kind of feel
yeah,
like there's no drop off, and if anything, you get a free 56-yard run.
and you get the pass game as well. Okay. You get the pass game as well.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, yeah, he was very good in the pass game as well. So yeah, Poppy, let's talk about the pass game then. Again, I've got my stat sheet in front of me. 11 different Bucks catching a ball. It felt like it was. We were wondering who was going to step up, and I guess, do you think no one stepped up, or did everyone step up?
I think everyone stepped up. I think I can probably speak for a lot of people. I would have liked to have seen Mike on a lot more. Obviously, I get that he's coming back from an injury, but it was really good to see him back and making some catches as well. But yeah, I think everyone did what they needed to do yesterday, which was actually really good to see. O-line did really well as
Mm,
well. You
yeah,
can
really good point.
that Tristan wasn't playing.
School
Yeah,
did all right over on the left. That's the first time he'd been over on the left, I think. So,
yeah, no, definitely.
mm.
And there's been some times this season where he's had to play and he's not been that great. So yeah, I was quite impressed yesterday. But yeah, I think Mike I think he's only on 400 odd yards for the season. So he's got, is it 99 yards that he's got to average for the rest of the year if he wants to do 1,000 yards. But yeah, it was still good to see him back.
I agree. And we said in the forum, unfortunately, playoffs do not count. You have to go to get them all in the regular season, so he's going to have to go some. But hey, you never know.
Looking at the opponents, it's not like it will be that difficult against some of them.
Yeah, but I think you're right. It felt like Mikey probably wasn't 100%, was he?
No, no, definitely not. But that's to be expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was almost good that we didn't overuse him. I guess, yeah, Marianna, let's talk to the last bit of the offense then, the Baker, whatever his name is. Um, no passing touchdowns, clearly overrated at quarterback. He had a
Uh,
good day.
I mean, 100%, obviously, absolutely overrated. No, I mean, he was an absolute hero yesterday. Um, I think the two highlights that I'd like to pick out were the fumble recovery.
Yeah, as Poppy
He
said,
came
that was
from about
incredible.
20 yards away and somehow managed to save a fumble that was rolling over Giants players' feet. That they'd only have to bend down and pick up the ball almost.
Cam
It's
Newton, pay attention. That's how it's done.
Yeah. And then obviously the other one was the other highlight that was all over sort of the socials and everything was the sort of lead block for the Bucky Irving 56-yarder. So I mean, you've got two plays there which are not necessarily QB plays, but just show us how important he is as a competitor, as well as our QB. Not just the QB, but he's showing everyone else how to stand up, how to take responsibility, and really sort of play for the team. And the other one that I quite enjoyed, if we're going for sort of exotic looks as well, was Vita Vea at fullback as well.
Yeah,
Twice,
more of that,
twice they
please.
did that one with varying levels of success, but yeah, it was great to see.
Because yeah, on one of them he completely whiffed on the block, but it didn't matter because by the time the good defenders got round him, he's still in the end
Yeah,
zone. So
exactly.
As I said, the other one with Baker was the play where he got pushed onto the bench, and everyone came to protect Baker, and Gadecki
including Coach
especially,
Moore.
including Coach Moore, yeah. But Gadecki just came from absolutely nowhere, sprinted over and grabbed the guy. But you can just see all the commentators always say it. People love playing for Baker Mayfield. Everyone keeps saying it, but you could see it on that play. And I think with what we now need to do, which is pretty much win out, that sort of like we're there for each other attitude is going to be massively, massively important. So I think if he can breed that, then this is the most fun I've ever had watching the Bucs. Even more fun than Brady, just because I love Baker. He's the type of quarterback you want to have playing for your team.
I think that's a really good point. Okay, let's switch to the other side of the ball then. And anytime you can concede 7 points in an NFL game, you're clearly doing well. Poppy, let's start with you. I'm going to put it out there. I still think it was a slightly subpar performance from RD.
Yeah, I think that as well. Obviously, Levante David is just so reliable. Cansey had a great game as well. There were a couple of key stops, but I was saying, I think Anton Winfield, I know that this might get me a lot of criticism, hasn't really been himself much this season. And it was really bad to see Jordan Whitehead's injury.
Yeah, that
Right.
looked painful. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially because obviously it was a good stop, but then they scored the touchdown the play afterwards anyway. So I do just think if he's out for a while, which it looks like it probably was quite a big injury. Just seems like it was one of those ones that could have been avoided. But yeah, I agree that the defense hasn't looked to the height that we have been able to enjoy under Bowles. So I'd just like to see a bit more consistency moving forward. But I don't really know how that's going to be achieved, really. It's a couple of key players not playing as well as we know that they can do. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Thomas Poppy says kind of there was some good play like Cansey and David. Actually, then there was some pressure. Again, potentially, as I said at the beginning, it could be the Giants O-line as much as the Bucs D-line, but it felt like, I mean, there were some really good hits.
Yeah, Vita was getting through a fair bit. And
Yeah,
he wasn't.
he ate, didn't he?
Yeah, he hit him so hard. And yeah, I felt so sorry for Tommy DeVito because it's just you can't get out of the
By
way.
the end of the game, he was Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Tom and I actually messaged around about the same time yesterday about making a joke about Vita. Vita, these men have families because it was incredible what he was doing.
I think he's the good thing is they haven't been great, but we're still in a position where we can still win the division. If Todd can get them going, then the offense is playing so well that we are going to be a team that not many other teams want to come up against, whether that be now or if we make it to the playoffs in the playoffs. I mean, the Lions will be probably the first to say you don't want to play against the Bucs because we can beat anyone on our day if we turn up. Mike Edwards hopefully coming back, and if Jordan Whitehead is going to be out for a while, hopefully Mike Edwards can step in because some of the other players haven't looked quite up to the task. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see down the stretch how the D sort of kicks on, because they haven't been up to the sort of usual standards of like Super Bowl season and things like that. So
yeah, you mentioned what Todd's going to do next. I think let's stick with that. Marianna, again. So I've got two question marks. That sounds a bit severe. Two like raised eyebrows in the sort of Todd Bowles direction. It still felt like we were playing a little bit prevent at the end. And I guess arguably the game was over, but it still didn't sit very well. And the other one was the challenge. The complete or incomplete pass. It was was it 3rd and 2? It felt like 2nd and 2 maybe, because whatever, even if you made the challenge, it felt like they were still going to convert on the next down. So kind of what was the problem with giving a new set of downs?
Yeah, I think definitely in terms of what you're saying, in terms of the defense at the end, I think at half time, as the teams were going off, they did the usual interviews and sort of said to Bowles, "Oh, how are you going to play this in the second half?" And he came out with a line of something like, "Oh, we've just got to keep our foot on their throats. We've not got to let up. We've got to play with the same intensity." And as you say, it felt like we went into that usual very soft prevent, and had it not been for a fumble that wasn't a forced fumble, I don't think it was the fact that the player kind of
lost. A tackle. Yeah. He was carrying it like a loaf of bread sort of thing.
Yeah. So if they hadn't lost that, I think they quite possibly would have scored on that set of downs, and the score would have maybe looked a little bit closer. So
because by that point it could have been 23-14 or something,
Yeah, you're starting to then look a little bit, definitely it's starting to look a little bit closer, and it doesn't look quite as good a result at the end. So I want to say to Todd, don't just say it on the camera. Actually, go with that. We should have kept our foot on their throats. We were getting sacks. Our stats were looking a lot better. That's what we want to see all the way to the end. But I guess it's hard to sometimes motivate when you are winning. It's easy to sort of step off a bit, particularly in that fourth quarter. And I guess if Jordan Whitehead hadn't have kind of gone for that stop, then maybe he's playing in the next few weeks where we could need him. So there's always both arguments on that front. But I still would like to have seen us play a little bit harder, personally, all the way to the end. I think we could have actually had that as a scoreless game on their side.
It's hard because everyone when Godwin went down, it was like, why is he still in there? Hindsight's 2020, so there's no right answer.
Yeah, in terms of the challenges, and this is what I actually said. The guys with Big Blue that I spoke with before the game, they were actually asking about what the sort of thoughts are on Todd Bowles as a coach. And I think one of the things that we see, and as I always say, I'm no X's and O's expert, so I don't like to sort of put myself out there and be critical of a guy, particularly a guy that's got us to the playoffs twice. So, but I think one of the things that I really don't like is some of his decisions where he kind of plays a safe decision that doesn't necessarily go our way, or he makes a weird, questionable decision where, challenge this or don't challenge that, and it was another one of those. It was like with the Chiefs, should we have gone for it at the end instead of going into overtime? You'll get the arguments either way because however the result goes, but I kind of want to see aggressive decisions, and I want to see decisions that I'd rather lose with honour is kind of how I feel, and I feel sometimes Bowles is maybe just a little bit too safe in some of his decisions.
Well, yeah, you said to lose with honour. Maybe it's kind of play to win rather than play to not lose.
Yeah,
sometimes, perhaps. I mean, Poppy, what do you think in terms of the level of aggression? It's hard. We're saying Todd Bowles potentially isn't a risk taker in some areas, but of course he's the pretty much the coordinator that blitzes the most in the whole of the NFL. So, he's doing something right.
Yeah, he is. It's an interesting one because I have a lot of time and respect for Todd Bowles,
Mm,
and I do think that this year there have been times where our defense has looked to that level, but there's just something that's just not clicking for
mm,
me with him.
mm.
And I agree, it's not. Sometimes you just want to shout at him to just go for it and to try. He did it a bit more in the first half yesterday. I noticed, like keeping us on the field when in other games he probably would have just gone for the field goal, gone or anything else. But it's just there's just something, I don't know. He's not as risky as Bruce was, and I loved that. I loved seeing the passion from him. Um, but I do think that Todd Bowles, his demeanor generally is a bit quieter anyway. So I do wonder if that's playing into it.
I
I don't
guess what
know.
you get with him is consistency as well.
Yes.
You don't get the highs, the lows, the passion, the temper. He's
No,
always
and
going to be
I think
level-headed.
because when you look at Baker, it's you want that to
Yeah.
match Baker. I would have
Mm, mm,
absolutely loved to have seen Bruce with Baker because I think that
mm.
that would have been an incredible combination. So yeah, it's that you've got Baker running down the field, making those blocks. I would like to have a head coach that kind of matches that a little bit more. But again, I don't. I do have time for Todd Bowles. It's Marianne said it. He's brought us to the playoffs twice last year. A lot of people didn't really think that we had the right to go as far in the playoffs as we did. So
And how
yeah,
many coaches have got a ring on their finger to say, I'm better than you?
yeah, exactly. I would still
Mm,
like to see. I think that his time as head coach personally might be up at the end of the season, but I would still want to see him with us.
mm.
But
I
yeah,
mean, that's a hard transition to make. If that's going to come to fruition, it's very hard to say, I'm going to give up the head job and just go back to calling D.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Mm,
I think he said last year that he doesn't want to, or the year before when other teams were interviewing
mm.
him for the head coach. He didn't head coach role. He didn't seem to want to have it that much. But I don't know if that was just him not wanting to go to those teams. Jaguars were one of them. I think he put forward Leftwich, didn't he, rather than interview himself. But I don't really blame him for that.
So I will ask you each of you for your Bucks MVP in a minute, but Tom, quickly, let's talk about special teams. And it's kind of not entirely special teams, but I want to talk about Mr. Tucker. Um, that kickoff for me. I mean, it's not talk about passion and anger. I think I'm fairly level-headed, but my computer monitor was nearly out the window at that point. Because like if you're the one returning kicks in the NFLs, you've got to learn the rules.
Yeah,
Um, Maybe he just panicked.
yeah, I think it's probably just a panic thing. I don't know how long, like, well, how he hasn't been doing. He's been with us however long now. 3 years
It's only
is this
second.
now?
Is it second year? I don't
Second
know
year.
that long. Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't know how long he's been returning kickoff. I suppose
yeah.
what the new kickoffs is probably part of it as well. But yeah, it was a strange one. But yeah, I think special teams on the whole, we've never been a team for some reason that seems to be able to get anything too fancy on special teams. They just seem to catch, take a knee, and take it up, or just run it not too far. Don't remember anyone really over the years for us that's been particularly unbelievable returning the ball. I'm just happy we've got a kicker now who can actually kick. Well, suck up and now McCoughlin. So yeah,
Well,
I
you
suppose
say
that
all
part of the
that,
question
but
is
there
just,
was a
yeah,
missed PAT.
there was a missed PAT yesterday, but I think you can let him off. He's been pretty much, yeah. I like to call him Money McLaughlin because he's
Yeah,
pretty much money every time we need him to be. Um,
and you'd
yeah,
rather
so
you missing a 37 win than a 30-29 loss. So
yeah, and I'd rather it be the PAT than the field goals, I suppose.
yeah.
So,
And in terms of the punting, then, do we think is Gill any better than Kamada?
no,
I
I
think
think
Jerry's still out.
yeah, I think Gill's just an average punter. He's nothing special. Nothing. He's not a bad
Mm.
punter. Not anything special. But yeah, I still really loved. I loved Commander his first season. It was just a bit of something different, a bit of excitement from our punter, which was nice. But he wasn't what he was this season. So I guess I had to make a decision.
Okay, then I'll come around each of you for your Bucks MVP. Mariana, let's start with you first.
I
Who and
suppose,
why?
yeah, I think I'll go for the obvious of Mayfield. Just as I say, he just completely put his entire heart on the line and played his played his heart out for that entire game. And I just loved the blocks and the fumble recovery, just everything about him. I love it when he's mic'd up as well, and you hear him like with some of his catchphrases on the sidelines and stuff. He's just, yeah, he got that for me. So I'm going to give it to Baker.
Passion all the way. So yeah, MVP throwing no touchdowns. I agree with that. Poppy?
I'm going to go Vita.
Yeah.
I still, one of these days, he is going to get his second touchdown and it's going to be the greatest day of my life. But yeah, I'll go Vita because I think that his passion and how hard he was hitting these players, that O-line, I think, is going to have I don't know who it was, the one that he just pushed him into, DeVito. He's going to be having nightmares for the rest of his career, I think. But yeah, I'll go.
With Vita's massive long name, I feel like I need like a row of people, where they do that topless thing with the letters painted on their chest. You need to go all the way around the radio, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a good choice. And Tom, your MVP.
I'll go with Bucky then, as he hasn't been mentioned. Yeah, Bucky for me is it's not just his running, but just being that outlet for Baker whenever he needed it. It was like 5 or 6 possibly catches, and it was. But
it irks me, but I often think, what would Sean Payton do? I kind of feel like if Sean Payton had Bucky, he would be like the next Alvin Kamara, wouldn't he? He would be running, catching, jinking, reversing, everything.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a special player for us.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let us know in the comments below who your MVP should be, and we will join you later in the week to preview the next game on the road to the Panthers. So, as ever, thank you, Marianna, Poppy, Tom. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time, and go Bucs.
Go Bucs.